Welcome back to Livezone Sports. It's Mazzi here with you, joined by Livezone and Paul. We're back with a Live 5 list. Finally, you've been asking, we're coming to deliver. The question of the day is, what are your top 5 NFL players that were good but should have been great? Paul, I'm looking at you. I want to hear who you have on this list. Please let us know.
All right, coming at you with my live five. Number one, we got Andre Johnson, wide receiver. He was good, but he should have been great, and here's my reason why. He never had a good quarterback, and he couldn't live up to the Calvin Johnson hype. They were both compared, both two great wide receivers, and he just could not live up to that hype. And my number two pick, we got Jamal Charles, running back. He was good, but he could have been greater. In my opinion, he had two good seasons in his career, but not every season was good. Not every season was bad. He could have been a lot better. This was before the Chiefs dynasty started, in my opinion. So if he was playing with the Chiefs now in his prime, he'd be a lot better. But in that time frame, he only had two good seasons, in my opinion, and that's my reason why he could have been greater. Number three, we got quarterback Johnny Manziel, one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best college quarterbacks that the NCAA could have seen. And this was before the NIL deals. Um, you know, Coming into the NFL, everyone wanted that number one pick. Everyone knew Johnny Manziel was going to be that number one pick. Cleveland Browns landed him, thought he was going to be the franchise quarterback for the rest of his career, and he fell off. I think he had too many problems off the field that was taking him away from the game, and sooner than later, he just fell off and didn't live up to that college hype that he once had. Coming at you with number four, Vince Young. He was a draft bust, in my opinion. You know, Me as a younger kid, I liked Vince Young a lot, but he didn't, even at my young age, he wasn't as great as he should have been. And last but not least, my number five, Robert Griffin III, quarterback for the Washington Redskins. Um, my opinion, he was the Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson. He had wheels. He had wheels. He was really Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson. And the reason why he was only good and not great is because, unfortunately, he dealt with that serious injury, and that took him out of his career at a very early start. Um, so that is my live five. And what do you got?
Love the live five. Some sim. I had one of your guys on my list, but before I get into my list, I'm gonna pop over to Live Zone. Live Zone's been talking to me about this list for a couple of days now. He says there's one on here that's gonna shock me. I'm gonna know in real time with all of you. Live Zone, what's your list for the top 5 NFL players that were good but not great?
So before I even get into my list, I just want to say I only have one quarterback on here. I have two running backs. I have a wide receiver, and I actually have a defensive player and a cornerback. So I'm going to start off with the cornerback. Jamal Adams just didn't live up to the hype for me. With all the drama happening in New York, getting out of New York as one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and then after that going to Seattle and amounting to absolutely nothing. It's sad to see because of the talent he was in New York, but that's the reason why he's my number five. Number four, I have Todd Gurley, running back for the Rams and whatever teams that he went to afterwards. I'm pretty sure he ended up with the Falcons late in his career. First 2 years, best running back in the league, right? We thought that this was the next Adrian Peterson, the next guy that you could look at in the running back position and say, this is the guy. And it just didn't happen. Adrian Peterson put him to shame. It's sad to see because we were left with mediocre running backs for the time being after Todd Gurley stepped down from being the number one running back in the league until we got further on and we had, all the running backs that we have in this generation now. So that's the reason why he's at my number 4. My number 3, I have Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush, coming out of college, was a sensational running back, a guy that was being looked at as a Barry Sanders type running back. And then after that, completely fell off because of the Heisman Trophy win and all that stuff, and how he paid people and got paid at the same time and everything. It was just a big mess. And then on top of that, when he was on the New Orleans Saints with the defense being paid to hurt people and everything like that, it kind of just shut down Reggie Bush's career. And it's sad to see, because Reggie Bush should have been one of the greats, and we should be talking about him the same way we should be talking about Barry Sanders and all them. So that's the reason why he's on my list. Number 2, I have Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry coming out, being that number 2 receiver for LSU. Odell being drafted to the Giants and Jarvis Landry being drafted to the Miami Dolphins. Had 2 good years, 3 good years. Then after that, flopped to a few different teams and was never really the same after Miami. So yes, he picked up the Miami franchise when they were at an all-time low. But after that, I mean, he even played with Odell in Cleveland and really didn't amount to anything. Should have been a championship team, because they had the likes of Baker Mayfield, Odell, Myles Garrett, Jarvis Landry. The names go on and on and on. But at the time, they were the Cleveland Browns that we know now as the worst team in NFL history. They couldn't get past the first round of the playoffs or even get a few wins at the time. That's the reason why I have Jarvis Landry at my number 2. My number 1, I have RG3, Robert Griffin III. I like your pick, Paul. The reason why is because of his injury setbacks, coming through as one of the young prodigies to the Washington, what we know now as the football team, or the Commanders, I should say, sorry. And, coming through as one of the young talents with Russell Wilson, thinking that and Andrew Luck, thinking that these guys were going to be the future of the league. Robert Griffin III gets hurt because he has no offensive line and his coach didn't know how to coach a damn football team. And it kind of ruined his career. He did end up on Baltimore, where I thought he was a great backup, but it just didn't work out, and he ended up retiring too early. But that's the reason why I have Robert Griffin at my number 1 spot.
Interesting live 5 list. Jamal Adams being on there. I don't know if he broke over some of the other names that I see, but the Jarvis Landry one I really like. Yeah, I like that one a whole of a lot. RG3, of course. There's a couple guys I think that have been left out of these lists that I might have in mind. I'm going to start off with my number 5 guy, and that is Tim Tebow. Okay? Coming out of college, the best, I think no argument around it, the best college quarterback of all time with the Florida Gators. Yes, it could have been the system and the team and the players around him, but he had to make those games count, making that promise to not lose another game, winning the championship. It's storybook stuff, drafted to the NFL. The only highlight, really, was that Pittsburgh playoff game and that one throw down the sidelines that everybody remembers in OT to get them the victory. But other than that, pretty short career in NFL, went straight to broadcasting more, and now is off doing even bigger and better things. Good for Tim Tebow, just didn't amount to anything in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. Still best college football quarterback of all time. Going to number 4, I have another quarterback here. Someone that I think everybody sometimes forgets about. Jamarcus Russell for the
Okay.
Raiders. The 2007 first round draft pick. Only played 3 years in the NFL before leaving the NFL for good. Man had a cannon. The best arm I've ever seen. Could throw it from goalpost to goalpost before anybody even thought about throwing it from goalpost to goalpost. I believe he had a 99-yard touchdown pass at one point that he must have
Yep.
thrown at least 85 yards of it. that
Mm-hmm.
was unreal. This man had the potential that was through the roof and just never amounted to anything. Just 3 years and out. He did play only 4 games his first year, but then 15 and 14 the last two, and then just never heard of him again. It is what it is. Just a bad bust for the Raiders. Going to number 3, I have a classic. The YWN Melly of the group. Aaron Hernandez killing his best friend and getting kicked out of the National Football League and put in jail and then ultimately committing suicide. Man was paired up with Tom Brady in New England with Bill Belichick and Rob Gronkowski on the other side. A 2 tight end set. They didn't even need any wide receivers at that damn point. With Gronk and Hernandez just going, doop. Brady's going to find one of them, okay? This man gave up many Super Bowl titles, money, kids, life in general. Don't want to put more pressure on it than that. That's just plain and simple. We all know that. But he would have been one of the greats, along with Rob Gronkowski, is going to be in the future. Moving on to my number 2. I have one that you guys all had on your list, and that's RG3. Okay, no disputing. This man willed the Washington Redskins at the time, the Commanders now, to a victory in the playoffs, blowing out his leg, ruining the rest of his career to give it all for that franchise in those games. You know, he still goes on live and says he could come back. I don't know if he'll be the same person if he came back, but God, if that leg could have stayed healthy, he was the Lamar Jackson. Before the Lamar Jackson, he could have been that guy. He was the guy that I thought would be the first running quarterback really to get the Super Bowl in their hands.
Yep.
His demeanor, the way he played, the toughness, putting the city on his back, everything he embodied. I thought it was unbelievable. Unfortunately, your body gives out. This leads me to my number 1, and it's a no-brainer for me on the potential, the athletic ability gift given to this man, and this is Josh Gordon as number 1. Okay, Josh Gordon averaged 7 games a year, 7.78 games a year out of 10 seasons. Listen to these quarterbacks that he played with. Baker Mayfield, Tom Brady for 2 years, Russell Wilson for 1 year, Patrick Mahomes for 1 year, and then Ryan Tannehill for 1 year. Okay, put Ryan Tannehill aside, nothing to write home about, but goddamn, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, these are all people that are in the playoffs all the time. Recently, later, all the time. And this man couldn't stay on a team. He couldn't stay away from weed. Should have joined the NBA. I mean, god damn. If he could have just stopped smoking J's for a little bit, he could have been a Hall of Fame player. Instead, 1,000-yard season, and that's it. This man was built like a tank. I don't know if you've ever seen the Josh Gordon shirtless photo. But that is one of the craziest photos I've ever seen in my life. Dude, that man has muscles where I didn't think there's muscles. Like, this dude is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
6'3", just ripped. He could jump out the gym. He wasn't the fastest, but goddamn, with the quarterbacks that he played with, if he could have just fit into the system, kept his stuff together, this man could have been top 5 receiver all time, in my opinion. But, the devil's lettuce gets him
Yep.
every time.
Yep. I like everybody's picks. We want to know from you guys, who do you think should have been on this list that wasn't? Make sure you comment and everything like that, because we definitely want to debate with you. We have a lot of fun with it. But Mazzi, Paul, you got anything else to say?
Only thing I got to say is I am ready for playoffs, more playoffs, give me more playoffs. Hope you guys stay tuned and watch us. Comment everything that you want and think should have been on this list or next episode down below. We're reading, we're listening, we're responding.
To add one more thing, I was going to say one more player, but I'll save that for next time. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Stay tuned.